Fully Human.
Hello and welcome back to the Fully Human Games Let's Talk Games podcast. I'm your host Matt and I'm once again joined by Josh and George. How are we doing, everyone?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm good.
Good.
Good. Today we're going to be talking about game adaptations in media in general, which has sort of become a bigger thing over recent times, whether that be for a good reason or not. And yeah, should I start in terms of what we want to talk about?
Why not?
I think you're the expert.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, in terms of game adaptations, the most notable one in recent times is undoubtedly, I would say, The Last of Us. As established in the last podcast episode, I'm a big fan.
Unless
However,
you're currently watching as well.
yeah, I'm currently watching it. I just cancelled my subscription for Now TV though. Not because of the series, but because there's one episode left. Anyway, yeah, as previously mentioned, I'm a big fan of The Last of Us, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna blindly accept what's coming out of the adaptation. And if I had to talk about it, I'd say in general it's been pretty negative. I think in general most. You go.
I was gonna say, well, I haven't been watching it, so obviously, at this point, you're explaining it to somebody who doesn't
No.
even know. I know the general story of The Last of Us 1 and 2,
Yeah.
but
Well, I'd explain it. I would outline it like this. Actually, first, what would you say the overarching theme of? I'll just focus on part 2 because part 1 I don't think was too bad in terms of the adaptation. But if you think about part 2, what do you think the overall tone of that game is?
the tone or the theming or tone, just both. I assume both, but
Well, it's about
I
the
mean-
same thing, to be totally honest.
well, at least when it comes to the whole story and that, it's all very much. At least it feels more like a revenge story, but turns into this forgiveness sort of. I don't know. I mean, that's at least from an outsider's point of view who generally knows it.
Yeah,
At least knowing
that's pretty
the
spot on,
revenge
to be honest.
into a revenge into a not forgiveness, but I guess I can't get the word for it. A more accurate word.
Acceptance.
Acceptance, yeah. At least from the outside.
That is what I would put it down to, but I think the what Neil Druckmann's used the most is the overall thing is a cycle of violence. But it is very much about the typical love, which is typically more focused in the first game, but the second game is definitely much more about it's a lot darker in terms of the terms of hate and then redemption through certain things in the game. And that brings me on to what I want to talk about in terms of the series. And this is going to be me talking a little bit here, simply because you haven't watched it. But I'll try and outline it.
Before you do, if you rate, so if you were to go from the story in the show, how the show's going from the story, and again, we'll just focus on part 2. If I was to say out of a rating of 10, how accurate, or how, I guess, what's the word? I can't think of it, but yeah, how accurate would the show to the game be out of 10, in your opinion, before you start?
Well, I'd say I would have to bring up part 1 as well with this, because I think in general, season 1 of the show does a good job of capturing the overall theme of what the game is. It's not necessarily a one-to-one adaptation, but in general, the overarching theme and the story of the game is there, which I would say for part 1 I'd give it about an 8, but that's just because I like the voice actors and all that. I'm that in deep with the game. So it couldn't be a 10 simply because I view the game as a 10.
Yeah, adaptation was the word I was trying to find, but I just couldn't. After you said it, yeah, that's what I meant. It's adaptation.
Yeah, fair enough. But in terms of part 2, I mean, it's hard to judge, but simply the way they've structured the seasons. because currently we're at the end of season 2. I mean, they've confirmed season 3, but we're currently at like a fifth of the way into the game. But what I would say is they've changed a lot of the stuff to where it's not representative of the game's values and the story it's trying to tell, in my opinion. Now, of course, you could say that, Neil Druckmann is involved with the show, so you can't really say that, but I think that's disingenuous, to be honest. Again,
Creators make mistakes, so everything that Neil Druckmann does doesn't mean it's still in keeping with what the original is about.
Because again, this is going to be me rambling on and on, but the spoilers, I suppose, but I mean, it's been out for 4 years or 5 years.
Yeah, put a big old, spoilers.
Yeah, I'll put spoiler on the screen or something. But
like in 2 seconds, leave
yeah.
and then come back.
Right, so I'll give a quick overhaul of what's happened. In the game, we go into part 2 not knowing what's going to happen with the characters. Part 1's left on a question where you don't know whether she knows or she doesn't. You get brief insight of this through gameplay and gameplay dialogue, talking about the situation. However, in the game, not in the game, sorry, the show, you're sort of just thrown back into it. There's no build up or any sort of like backstory or anything like that. And then, of course, you go into Joel's death. But the main issue with that is the first scene of season 2, they introduce Abby as a character and they humanize her. Whereas in the game, they don't do that until the latter part of the game in order to make the player question themselves. So that's the first issue. You know Abby before she kills Joel. Secondly, after Joel's death, they wait 5 months. Why? In the game, it's the night after they leave. Because, they've just killed Joel. Surely you'd want to go and kill them. But instead, there's a situation in which it's 5 months later, and then she goes to the council to ask if she can go. Which just makes no sense, to be honest, for me, personally. It doesn't represent what the character would do in the game. And yeah, it's just stuff like that. And then the major one, I would say, is... this is the last point, and then... yeah. But, there's a point in the theatre where the character Dina tells Ellie that she is pregnant. And this is problematic because they've just gone all the way to Seattle to kill these people, and obviously if she's pregnant, she's gonna, I'll use the quote that she says in the game, she's gonna be a burden. So realistically they would have to go back. In the game, she's angry, which represents the character. She's angry, her dad in essence just died. She's angry, she wants revenge. In the show, she's laughing, she's happy, she says she's gonna be a dad. The internet didn't like that, but I won't touch upon that. But it just doesn't make sense. Especially after the fact... I'm really yapping, but
No, keep going.
After she finds out she's pregnant, she tells her to stay in the theatre, obviously to keep her safe. In the show, she brings her with her to go to fight, and then ultimately they get trapped, nearly die. And then they just retcon it by having the character Jessie show up, and then they get split up in the woods, so that's why she's alone. And then she goes to the hospital and kills Nora, but all that stuff that's sort of where we're at. And then last episode, which was yesterday night, was it was just a flashback episode, which in general I thought was pretty weak, except from the final scene, which sort of redeemed it, because it was a good adaptation of the game. But other than that, I'd say just season 2 in general has been pretty underwhelming.
I mean, I guess this is more of the because when adaptations, obviously, or any adaptation in general, when it comes to characters, obviously an adaptation can technically also be characters, and that can be slightly different. So when you expect an adaptation from a game into, or even vice versa, I mean, how similar? Because but a lot of shows that are adaptations or whatever will kind of divert slightly, and their characters or the characters from a game might be slightly different. Or I like to think of it as it technically let's say like the Ellies from both games, obviously different characters, the same character but different in.
Yeah.
I mean, how accurate do you like? At least when it comes to the game to this, would you wanted it to be like 1-to-1, or is it like you would be fine with them making changes that made, or in your head sense, if you get what I mean?
Well, in my
I mean, it's still a
opinion,
mini game adaptation.
The Last of Us is the characters. The whole game is built upon the characters, and each game is represented by the way the character acts. So, the story of part one is represented through Joel's perspective, and thus he loses a child. After that, he's a broken man. He then finds this girl, who grows to be his daughter, and then he saves her. That's from his perspective because he's broken and he's redeemed. The second game is focused on Ellie. In essence, it is the same thing. She loses her father figure. She then seeks revenge. She's angry throughout the whole game, and then at the end, she sees the issue with carrying on the cycle of violence, and then she ends it. That's the issue. They're not capturing the essence of the character. I mean, adaptations, yes, it's a different actor, of course. They're going to have different mannerisms. They're going to act different. However, the focus on part two is the way the emotional side of a person, which is what attracts me to the games. The characters feel really real, and then you get this connection to them, which I don't think's being
It's basically you're
captured.
expecting them to be this. Yeah, it's the expectation they'll be the same in the show, or at least.
Well, yeah, the game should be the same as the game in terms of tone. I mean, like, you can change dialogue, of course, and that is obvious. That's obvious that's going to happen. But when it comes to the major things, like her being angry at that point in the game, and then in the show she's laughing, and then it's totally different, and it directly goes against the point of the whole game. And I'll sort of end this segment on something I wrote down during last night when I was watching the episode. I was taking some notes, and I put something about the flashback scenes, which they felt weird simply because she looks the same as the modern day. It's meant to be 5 years before, but they look exactly the same. That's just something I put. But yeah, the thing I put it down to is the dialogue in the game feels realistic. They feel like real people. They feel like real characters that are having these real conversations. Whereas in the show, it feels like a parody, which is trying to imitate that, and it has a negative effect. 'Cause it makes it feel kind of goofy. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel genuine, and that's what I just put down the issue of The Last of Us as a show, in my opinion. Of course, people can like it, but that's just, as a big fan, I feel very passionate about The Last of Us. I mean, I've got it tattooed on my body, so I think that says enough. But yeah, that was a bit of a ramble. So hopefully that was somewhat alright, listeners, or you two.
No, it was fine. I find it quite fun to listen to people
Have a
rant
mental
on.
breakdown about their favourite thing. But now we'll move on. I want to get George involved a little bit because he hasn't really said a lot due to my ramblings. But you wanted to talk about the Silent Hill 2 adaptation, George?
Yeah. Why? My opinions. No, my opinions on the upcoming Silent Hill 2 film plays into what a lot of people say about video game adaptations. Into film, and that's it's a weaker product. Games as a medium and as an art form are superior to films. Or at the very least, they offer something different, which means that when it comes to make a Minecraft film, or Silent Hill 2 film, or Silent Hill film, then it's just going to be a weaker version of it. And it feels feels kind of pointless for the consumer. The good recently video game adaptations have been very good marketing tools for the games themselves. Um, they get sort of a wider audience more interested in it, I suppose. Like with The Last of Us.
That's for sure. They've done about
Yeah.
6 remakes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's clearly doing well for them, which is why they do it. But yeah, it just feels pointless, especially like Silent Hill 2, because without spoiling anything if you don't know, but the ending of the game, there's many different endings, and it all depends on large and small actions that you take. None of it's obvious, but it's just about how you play the game, which reflects on the character that you play as, which in turn reflects what the outcome of the game is going to be. And with a film, you know you can't do that. There's going to be one ending.
Yeah.
Which one's that going to be? There's now going to be like a definitive ending, which there wasn't before, and it's going to be it's just going to be a more boring version, basically. Because there isn't that player involvement. That's why most games should really just stay as games, because I think if a game is really good, this is going to sound extremely obvious because it is. Games require player involvement, and you can't just sort of disconnect that and have it be the same thing. You know, so Silent Hill 2 isn't just a game with a story on top. The story is interactive, and the player makes decisions, and it affects the outcome of the story. But that's just going to be taken away in the film, and I think it looks bad anyway. To be honest, I think I just think it's one of those things that this happened with the Silent Hill 2 remake. Came out 6 months ago as well. Things just get lost in translation, and it's just very disappointing.
I think that's why.
It's similar to what you were saying about changing stuff from The Last of Us in the series. I'm not opposed to changing stuff, but if you make it worse, then that's bad. If you could change something, it needs to be better, not worse. So it's just kind of baffling. Why would you change that? It was better. The symbolism was better in the original, so why have you changed it? Stuff like that really annoys me. But
I think that's why adaptations are in general are problematic, because you're taking away the control element from the consumer, whereas in games you are in control of what's happening. To whatever extent that is. Obviously, narrative games, there's set cutscenes, etc., etc. However, in a show, you're stripping that away, and you're just watching something, which does take away a lot of the stuff. And I think that's just the main issue in general. Obviously, the changes and stuff like that, taken away from the core values of the product, whatever it is. But,
well, my main issue with changing stuff is that it creates different versions of something that's called the same thing. It's and they can be pretty fundamentally different. But people who aren't as sort of informed about it, like I love Silent Hill 2, the original. I shouldn't say the original because if I say Silent Hill 2, that's first one. And then I'll add something else like the film or the remake or the remaster. There's multiple versions of Silent Hill 2 now. There's the original version, which is by definition Silent Hill 2 in its purest form. That is it. Then you have the remastered one, from a while ago, which is slightly different, but still a different version. And then you have the remake, which changes a lot of stuff. And now we're going to have the film as well. Those are all different things, but they're still called Silent Hill 2. And it just makes conversation and discourse and about it difficult because people are talking about the same things and they get different impressions from the different products, but they think it's all the same thing. It's like a lot of people think that they know or understand or get Silent Hill 2 when they've only really been exposed to the remake, even though they're two different things. That kind of stuff sort of annoys me. You know, because I mean, I think it gets the atmosphere, like the Silent Hill 2 remake gets the atmosphere, you know, mostly correct. Which means that people will look at like the same. People will look at like two images of those two games and will go like, oh yeah, well that's a brilliant remake. It's 10 out of 10, perfect remake. It basically is, you know, whatever, but it's not. It just changes a lot of the symbolism and how it controls is completely different. And again, they're called the same thing, but they're not. They're not the same thing.
What?
The Last of Us, The Last of Us Season 2 is not the same as The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
But they're called they're more or less the same thing. They're not called the exact same thing, but you know they're trying to tell the same story. But there's enough changes to where if one person is exposed to one over the other, then they can have a different view of it.
That's the main issue. It's the changes, because in general, I'm fine with adaptations because it opens up the game to consumers that wouldn't play the game. People that won't ever have a PlayStation or whatever, they can enjoy the show. Like for example, I showed my mum The Last of Us show, but she'd never play the game. So I'm fine with that. But the issue is when it changes, as you mentioned. What I would so I'll move this on a little bit. I guess what I would ask is, do you both think that adaptations can work, and sort of what would have to happen for them to work? I suppose.
I can't try to think if there's any
Super
adaptation that has worked pretty well.
super simple stories, where the player doesn't actually have any sort of agency in it or any choices in it, like with well, the Super Mario film was pretty popular, and that's because it's basically just telling a story that's super simple, and the story for Mario games obviously not very complex, and it's mostly set dressing anyway. So it doesn't really matter that it's no longer an interactive thing. It's still not as good as the games because the games offer more. Or at least the games are popular because you can play them.
Yeah.
It's like if okay let's say let's say that the film came out before any of the games. Let's say would the film be popular, or would it be more popular than the games?
Wait, sorry, repeat that. So the game came after the show, did you say? Sorry, I'm trying to.
Yeah,
Follow.
let's imagine that.
Well, it's funny you should say that. So I just looked it up, and I'm not finding anything. I mean, at least from examples that sort of have gone mainstream. I mean, you've got like the Scooby Doo like PS1 games, but that's not really mainstream.
No. I mean, like the first time anyone's ever heard of Super Mario is in a film.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Wait, no, what? No, I'm talking about like a separate universe, an alternate timeline where the Super Mario Brothers, before they made any games, was a film, right?
Yeah. So you're saying,
Yeah.
do I think it would work as a game?
No.
No, you're saying
No,
you're
okay,
saying.
would anyone care?
No,
Would anyone care about it?
Would
anyone say
it
that
get
film was super good? But the games, I don't know about them.
I haven't
if it was a
watched
movie
it, but
before a game, do you think it would be more popular or as popular as it is now if they turned out as a movie first?
well, probably not. But then I would say you've got stuff like Minions, which is just a totally new thing, and it's like a cartoon movie. So I don't know. I'd say probably not though.
It's a bit of a weird question.
I
I'm
don't
not
think
sure
it
what
was.
the point was, but
I mean, I guess you're saying is the
Because like, is the narrative
It's
of
the
the story
IP that
it being
Yeah.
is it like interesting enough that like the story being told in these adaptations, and if they had come out, or if they had come out, there was no game ever hasn't existed before, hasn't existed, but these adaptations released as they are, would they be as successful as they are, or as successful as the games?
Yeah,
Like if the last,
I'd imagine that a
yeah,
large portion of the Last of Us TV series audience, it sounds like they're different from the game
yeah, a lot of people
audience.
wouldn't probably watch The Last of Us Part 2 or Season 2. Um,
No, I'm like it's probable the large majority haven't even like heard of the games before.
oh
And
yeah,
they
I
watched
think
it, is what I
a lot
mean.
of
Um,
people probably won't even watch it. Let's say if it came out as a movie or a series first, because they're watching it because they played the games.
I would say The Last of Us has gone a bit more mainstream, simply just because of Pedro Pascal. But then again, they wouldn't get Pedro Pascal realistically if it wasn't a popular game, because his nephews got him to play the role because they like the game. But we're forgetting about one sort of example of an adaptation which sort of works, which is Arcane. I haven't watched it, but I think it's pretty popular. But
Well, Arcane,
it's
um,
it's gone the way of Last of Us Part Two. Great first series, but then the second one,
yeah, I mean a
people
lot of
don't like as
people,
much, and I think it fell off.
yeah, because I've watched both seasons of Arcane, and yeah, the first season like is really good, and the second season is okay, kind of thing.
that
Where I think the second season is a rushed essentially. And I think it was said that Arcane was meant to be longer. I think it was meant to be more than 3 seasons, and it shortened into two. Um, and yeah,
I suppose it's
it,
also a bit
it
different because it's not you're not trying to emulate the source material because isn't it like an original sort of
yeah, they're
narrative
original
thing?
characters and they have backstory, but they don't have like you know, and if they change a lot of so at least because at least in League, characters that have changed, or like let's say certain things, they'll change the characters in the game to what the new story or lore is for them. So it's they just change stuff when they want to.
So
Again,
the
they're game
sort of
stuff, so it's
they're sort of altering assets, one would say.
I can't remember how much because I have to look into it more. But I know it will change characters and stuff based on so like after Arcane release, they'll change certain things of some characters to or like lore reasons and stuff at least
Yeah.
to match the series. So
The reason I bring that up is altering assets. The talk of assets brings me on to the next point. Let's talk about Bungie and how
bungee jumping, no.
some recent news regarding Bungie. George, you
I think
sent
we
it
have.
in the Discord. I don't really know a lot about it, to be honest. So
Well, I
it's
think
not for me.
you don't. Well,
No, I saw what you sent, but other than that,
um, I mean, the simple point or is I think very in what was it? A couple words. Bungie stealing art, or at least from the or at least from what I think they've said in live stream that it was a artist that stole it and put it in the build. I need to look at the stream more, but anyway, yeah, Bungie taking art again. I can't remember how many times they've done it.
About the fourth
I don't know
time.
if George is this the fourth
I think
time.
it's about the fourth. I think it's about the fourth time since Destiny One.
Really, they were doing it before. I know about Destiny 2
Well,
stuff,
no,
but I didn't Destiny 1.
I'm not too
So
versed in that. I think it's around that much. Off the top of my head, there's this one with Marathon. There was one piece of art for a cutscene. I think in Destiny 2, it was a DLC for one of them,
yeah, I
and
think
then
it
there was
was
the Nerf gun.
the Nerf gun, which I think I
Thing.
know. Because because the thing is, it's like, again, someone who has played Destiny knows that I believe the weapon that you showed was and if anybody has actually played Destiny that is listening probably knows it is. I think it's Cade's hand cannon, the Ace of Spades, I believe, or something it's called. The one that you showed, or the Nerf gun with like the sort of what is it? Well, the kind of card. Have a look with like the spade on it, and the yeah, it's his weapon from the game. But yeah, no, the stolen art put into Marathon. It's been quite interesting, per to say, to have a look into it, especially the guy who actually has made the art.
Gal.
Let me see if I can finish the photo again to get more. But I think the most funny thing, at least to me, is looking at the I think the guy that posted the what is it? That the fact that he hid a lost meme of his art.
Gal.
Yeah, Gal. But he hid that for fuck's sake. They hid a what was it, a lost meme within their art. And by the fact that is also in Marathon, the exact piece is a ooh.
It's seems to be a bit of a pattern apparently with Bungie.
The
And
thieves.
they've mostly gone over before, but I have a feeling that we talked about Marathon last week, but this is like death by not 1,000 cuts or 100 cuts. It's more like 10 slashes. So death by 10 slashes, /1.
The straw that broke
Two,
the camel's back, one would say.
And I
no,
think,
/1, too many projects that they're working on at one time. /2, they overvalues themselves. /3, stealing art and getting caught too many times. /5, problems with leadership, which is what's coming out now. After the most recent art stealing debacle, there's been a lot of talk of the leadership at Bungie just being awful and not listening to anyone else, and similar to what reportedly happened with Concord. The leadership is just going, this is all great, everything's going fine, we're going to make the best game ever because we're Bungie and we made Halo, so we don't need to listen to feedback and we're just going to go ahead, and then they're just release something that doesn't have any appeal and then it bombs.
that is the sad part to me. The literal studio who made the first 3 Halo games and the first Destiny has gotten to this point, to the fact that you've got a studio that essentially has released games that have, I wouldn't say revolutionized at least first-person shooters, but definitely pushed it forward heavily, especially with Halo.
Yeah, especially on console.
And then now you get to a point where it's like, oh, now you've got this extremely successful company that has released these classics and these extremely popular games and characters, and has somehow fallen so far from grace to the point where they are putting stolen arts in their games. And obviously the fact that when you go, okay, there's stolen art that has been put into their games, then it goes into the question if there's any more or if there's other things either outsourced or stolen or.
Well, this most recent thing has really, bit them in the bottom, to say the least. People are really not happy, and it's getting a lot of attention. So I imagine they're unwilling for it to happen again. Again, it's happened before, and they've been able to sort of downplay it, and it hasn't it doesn't really get further than that. But again, yeah, like Matt said, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. People are really unhappy. I think it's because the talk of, like how artists are treated in the industry, or outside of it, because of AI and just general video game industry stuff, that people people are just really unhappy with this kind of behavior
Whereas it's
from
the
a
whole,
studio.
it's just standards dropping, which can't really touch on, to be honest. But for whatever reasons, that standards could drop. But it's just in general, standards are dropping in terms of quality, whether it be the games industry or any industry. To be honest, there's a lack of incentive to make good quality, and it's just release.
Well, there is. It's just hubris. It's because I can guarantee the Bungie's mindset is that we're Bungie, and we make incredibly famous games that make a lot of money, so we can just keep going. We're clearly the best, so we can just keep making stuff, and it'll turn out great. We don't have to listen to feedback. But then it's only after they actually put it out there and they realize that what they're making isn't popular, then they realize that that's not the right call. They should have playtested. They should have gotten a lot more feedback before going into full production, and that it doesn't matter who you are, you can always fail and go bankrupt, and your studio can close down. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We've already seen that with ex Bungie devs with Concord, because that studio Firewalk, I believe, was founded by ex Bungie devs, and they don't exist anymore.
It's not.
Yes, just keeping a cool head. Don't. There is incentives. They just don't see it. There are always incentives to do well, but
Yeah. Anything else to touch upon for that, or do you think in general we've covered the main stuff?
I think we've gone over generally
Right.
everything.
Yeah, I guess we've sort of discussed everything in terms of what we wanted to talk about in terms of game adaptations. I suppose we can get the listeners or viewers involved. So I guess if you have any other adaptations that you've either watched, heard of, etc., and you will let us know in the comments what you think of them, what you think they did well, what they didn't do well. Let us know in the comments section. But guess we can sort of round it off lastly with the weekly games of the week section, which is a section in which we talk about what games we played during the week, what we liked about them, what we didn't like about them, and if we'd recommend them or not. So, do any of you want to start?
Well, the main game that at least I've been playing this week and might be playing for a little while, since I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, to scratch the itch of waiting for Arc Raiders, I've been playing Hunt Showdown. Um, that has gotten me a lot more involved than I thought it would do, since either some extraction shooters I'm a bit iffy on, but Hunt has definitely gathered my attention a lot more than I thought it would. Mostly because I like the gameplay, but also the style of gameplay. What comes with playing as a solo, as the game doesn't really cater towards a single solo queue as per se. If you're a solo player, it does not mean you won't go up against teams. And with the game being pretty brutal when it comes to its combat, such as every weapon will one tap you in the head. A lot of things will two tap you, or well, 2 to 3 tap, including like certain weapons and stuff. And a game based a lot around about sound and stealth, being more stealthy, and it's pretty fun. So it's one I It's a game I recommend to people who want a bit more of a more difficult game to play, especially solo. Playing in with teams and stuff, I think this game is a lot more easier. But I don't know because I don't have anyone to play it with.
Fair enough. How much is the cost of said game?
So right now the game is sometimes it goes on sale. On Steam at the moment, I believe. Let me do a quick. I own the game for quite a bit. I just never actually played it fully up until now, so I bought it quite a while ago. But it's currently on Steam for £26. It does go on sale every now and then. Um,
Fair enough.
but yeah, it's not your full price game. But then again, I don't expect that from an extraction shooter anyway.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Well,
I
there's
might look
things
into
about
it.
that game, yeah.
Doesn't Post Malone have a DLC for that game?
Yes, there was an event that obviously was this year. I think that came out. I think it was. Where was it? Let me see. What's the name of the event called? Just quickly. Come on, show me the name of the event. Got to know it was Post Malone something Post Malone's. What was it? No, not me. I'll find it. But it was Post Malone something circus. Because Hunt is one of those games that likes to do events pretty often. Um, like revolving. It's like events last like every like 2.5 months or so, and they go away for like 2 weeks, and you get a new event. And yeah, Post Malone.
Post Malone's Murder Circus.
There we are. So I'm currently playing at a time where there's no event coming on, which is most, from what I've heard and looking at Steam charts, is the most dead period of the game. Though, and then again, I don't know if you'd call a game averaging, at least on peak, I think around 15,000 players dead. Definitely not what people have said when it's, I think when the game's at its top, at least when it's like an event is going on at the beginning, and it goes up to I think like 20, 25. But yeah, no. If you're looking for an extraction shooter to play, especially with others, or if you want to go into something to be a bit more difficult solo, Hunt is a game I recommend.
There we go. George, you want to go next?
Okay, well, I've been playing mostly what I've been playing since last week. So Kingdom Come Deliverance and CS:GO, well CS2 now I should say. But game I've been playing recently, but not the past 2 weeks, is Blasphemous, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I've played it twice before, but I just never really clicked before, like last month. I started to really enjoy the music, atmosphere, just everything about it. Really, it's a great game, and I got all the achievements as well, which was it's a bit easier than I was expecting. Yeah, if you don't know, it's a 2D Metroidvania. Um, Most of the imagery is based around Spanish Catholicism, and it's gorgeous. It's a very nice looking game.
Fair enough.
Yeah, not much to say. It's just good. It's a damn good game. Like short and sweet. So I played it like 10 times over.
Good.
What about you, Matt?
Um, barely anything to be totally honest. CS2 played again. Got my weekly reward.
As you do.
I reinstalled GTA after last week's conversation of being excited about GTA. I decided to install it again, and I'm trying to get as many achievements as possible. But yeah, I'm not gonna be able to get the 100%. Because one of them you have to do the Doomsday Heist Elite Challenge. That's just not happening with random people. So I'm gonna have to take that one on the chin. Nah, it's not worth it.
Grace the pain.
Nah, I'm just make money for absolutely no reason. Because just spend it on rubbish and then don't even use it. But yeah, that's basically it. GTA doing the story again.
Mhm.
Because of the enhanced edition, I have to redo my achievements, which is a bit weird. But I get double the achievements. That's fine. But yeah, that's about it. To be honest. Let me look actually. Let me go on my Steam. Yeah, so don't know what I'll do next week. Probably more the same. Whether or not something goes on sale or something like that, I don't know. But yeah, that's about it. Well, we're at the hour
Black
mark.
Mesa's on sale. Black Mesa's on sale for like £2, mate. In it.
Oh
My
wow!
Black Mesa's on sale.
I've got £1.96 in my account.
That might be enough.
£16.75 much.
Good morning
What do you mean? Yeah, it's not on sale.
It was on sale because I
Well,
saw it, but no longer.
Damn.
Nah, I think it's a straight up lie.
But yeah.
Lying to me.
How could you? Well, we're at around the hour mark, so we've not really got a lot more to touch on for this week. So you might as well call it there, I suppose. Any last closing things to talk about from you?
I've got absolutely fuckle.
Fair enough.
Likewise.
Nothing, George?
No, likewise.
No hablo inglés. Alright, well, we'll call it that then. Thanks for listening or watching, depending on what platform you're on. If you liked what you listened to or saw, make sure to leave a like and comment on what we can do better, what you enjoyed, etc., etc. We will have another episode next week, most likely. Not sure what will be on yet, but we will let you know. Thanks for watching. Spotify, YouTube.
Thanks for
We appreciate it a lot. Add us on socials. Join our Discord. I've been Matt. That's been George and Josh. Adios.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.